All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to chill. Kind of tired. And wanted to talk a little bit about Delphi. And it's interesting what we're finding out now, right? Pretty interesting. So it very well might have not been what they claimed it was. Really not sure. But there was a lot of things that we did find out that now we know is to be true if these are real documents that these people are rocks or whatever. I was watching this criminality and everything. And I don't think it's fair uh, that Mr. Ruckus, uh, he knows a lot more, probably because he had more uh, leeway in the case of talking to people, being that he was in law enforcement or a guard or whatever for the police or the state or whatever. So he probably would know a little bit more than the rest of us. Now, whether he had photos like everybody is claiming, I don't know. Right? I'm not sure. People are saying he was the leak. I don't know. But I don't think it's fair because, he does know a lot about the case, but why? Did he have an inside scoop like some of these other people? It's very interesting um, to find out. Hey, I mean, he has a great channel and everything, and I've been watching him for a while. But he would, being that he is in law enforcement, I've heard him a couple times say he talked to law enforcement. He used to be in law enforcement, and well, I imagine they open up. The case would be more, they would chat with him if he was a former police or whatever. So it makes sense that he would know certain stuff. But having the photos now, I don't know if that's true. If he had the photos or not, right? And I do believe it is a crime to possess some photos. But a lot of people say, "Well, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about." Maybe not, but I would think if whenever whenever somebody stole something, they were charged with it, right? Either you were a kid, stole some candy, whatever, but teenager, food, whatever you stole, if you got caught and it was stolen, that's you're in possession of stolen merchandise. You committed a crime, you'd go to jail or get charged with whatever, if it be a misdemeanor or whatever. But I don't think a lot of hi Miss Debbie, how you doing, Miss ATS News? But I don't think people are they're throwing this stuff off of the table, right? When really, should these people be charged with having possession of these photos in an ongoing case? I would think so if they were stolen. If all three sides are saying they did not release it and they were stolen from their office, then that's stolen evidence that was put out on social media. The thing is was the guy paid? Now we are hearing about the cop that died supposedly in a shootout. We're also hearing that his name was brought up, right? He died. He was under attack by another police officer, which now we can't. This is why you got to call in National Guard, because now you got a war within police. You got a war that's going on within our police department. You got to bring in heavy hitters into this, right? This is pretty crazy. Now we're learning that there was a shootout between two cops, and one cop was killed by another cop, and all this, and then somebody stole the photos, and they supposedly killed themselves or whatever. This is a lot of stuff. 3, 4 phones, documentation saying that several people were involved in it. Do we know if any of that's true? If anything we're reading or hearing is true, we don't know. What are we under attack by? I have no idea. Ruckus? Well, then he would be obligated to be questioned by them. How did he receive the photos and all that? And you would think he wouldn't have stuff like that, being that he is a police officer. Uh, he would know that while you're tainting the case or releasing evidence that the state didn't want out, defense didn't want it out. Who put it out? The crap went down, and now you got the police saying they want all my and there's my YouTube messing up. So what do I think? I don't know. Either the state is tapping into some of our computers that are within Indiana, trying to silence us, possibly, or possibly a hacker working for YouTube or whatever, jamming the signal or whatever. Possibly, I don't know. For one, what do I think? Well, with all this case of corruption, madness, and excuse me, everything that they're talking in the Delphi case, it should have been moved out of the state, and you should have had other investigating police departments come in and investigate it. If everybody was screaming that it was corrupt, that the police were corrupt, the courts are corrupt, everyone's corrupt, that's how it should have went down. Supreme Court should have stepped in, moved the case to another state, and then and brought in surrounding police departments from another state to come in, or turn the whole thing over to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, whatever it may be. And we all know that the Federal Bureau of Investigations or CIA or whatever, they don't need no okay from the courts to investigate. They could be investigating it as we speak right now. So, yeah, it should have been moved. It is corrupt, and if all these people had photos of the crime scene before anybody else, and they were linked to any YouTube channel, and they were profiting from that, I would say, yeah, there was some kind of a crime there. I mean, I might be wrong, but this is just me giving my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer. A lawyer might listen to me and say, you have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe not. I just feel like if it was that corrupt, why didn't they move the case out of the state? What good are you doing having the police investigate themselves if they're corrupt? Judge, we investigated. And we came to the conclusion that we're not corrupt. Come on. Right? A lot of things didn't add up from day one. And I do have to beg to differ with some of these YouTubers. Uh, in the beginning of this case, nobody talked about the Odins. Nobody. Not one channel talked about the Odins or anything until one channel claimed they knew the crime scene. That one YouTuber, everyone knows he was attacking everybody, and he claimed his own family did it or whatever. But it seemed like when he came out and claimed all that stuff, he got some of it right. he might have got it all right. He might have. We don't know. It's very crazy, and a lot of people are losing interest in it. A lot of people are getting attacked physically, spiritually, mentally. It's a bad, bad thing. I would, if I was running the United States government to be, I definitely would have moved it out of state. I would have had it expedited out of state. If they're all screaming corruption and madness, it wasn't us, it wasn't them. They leaked it. They should have stepped in, expedited it out, uh, and tried it somewhere else, and then handle the corruption deal. But you can't investigate. And well, the federal government would be able to investigate the police if there was corruption. Um, that would be right up federal government. And then you have to take. There's a lot of things you got to take in consideration with the Delphi case. For one, I don't care what anybody tells you, folks, or said. You have to look around the family. You have to look around closest people around them, who they were talking to, the situation around the family at that time, that area, the drugs that the people were doing, the prostitution that was out there, the clubs. I mean, there is numerous things, the secret organizations, numerous things you have to take in consideration that you have to follow up on. And everyone's, well, what's taking so long? Are you kidding me? All the tips they got, uh, all everyone's screaming corruption and everything. All that does is draw more attention to the case, and more tips come in. And some tips are so radical and crazy. I imagine some of these investigators said that's impossible. We're not even going to bother to look into it because it wasn't Ronald McDonald. It wasn't Bigfoot, right? So there's certain things. Yeah, there's a lot you got to take in consideration. You got these YouTubers talking about some club, some gang, whatever it may be, whatever it was. I think it was a lot bigger than what they ever thought. Well, the police probably knew because it's been a problem. Yeah, they probably should have. But like I said, I don't know what's attacking us, what's getting into us, who it is, what it is. Are we suffering for someone else? Is this other people's sicknesses? Is this other heart attacks or whatever we're getting or suffering or demonics? I really don't know. It's just too crazy for me. He told me he got the photos. Yes. You mean call the feds in? Well, that's the only one you can call. I don't know if you can call in an outside police department to investigate it. They'd be out of their jurisdiction. So the only ones that would be able to look into it would be federal government or Homeland Security if there was drugs involved in some kind of a club. They might be on a terrorist list. We don't know. Can I say 100% that it's Richard Allen on the bridge? It kind of looks like him, but I can't say 100% it's him. Not without closer closer footage, a clearer footage that I can look at it 100% and say, yeah, that's Richard Allen. Even with the weight that he had on before the murders, right? There's photos of him out before the murders with him being heavier. I need a close up footage of him or photo to say that's 100% Richard Allen. And what I'm not seeing is nobody is worried about the voices. We're not hearing nothing about the voices. They're all focused about Richard, and I can tell you this much. I've been listening to Richard, what is out there, which there ain't that too much out at all, on Richard's voice. And I'm not hearing Richard's voice on that recording. Possibly, maybe. If there's two voices on there, I would say Richard is possibly close enough. But there's just not enough voice footage on Richard Allen to say that's Richard Allen to me. The other voice, I think I have a clue or my theory of who the second voice is. I do believe he's already in prison for the same stuff as Delphi. But here's the other thing. There was numerous voices on the recording. The police said that numerous times. The guy on the bridge might not be these people that are on the recording. And these people in the recording might not even be bridge guy. They just wanted to know who these people were, and they wanted to find out who they were. And we're not hearing nothing about voices. That's like disappeared, right? Everybody's going for this Richard Allen and the corruption thing and everything. I think it's time to release. Well, I don't know. They keep saying that it's going to be going to court, and they only gave 2 weeks for this to happen, for this court date to happen. With all the stuff that they probably have, 2 weeks, this whole thing's going to be tried and over with in 2 weeks in court. I don't see that. 2 weeks? Are you? Whew, I don't know. Could it be done? It probably could, but in 2 weeks, they must have evidence, folks. Either they have evidence that he is the killer, or was involved, or was there, or they got nothing. Right? But 2 weeks, right? You got to take in consideration Richard Allen, all these other guys that were questioned about the Delphi case. I don't know. 2 weeks is pretty fast for a double homicide of 2 young girls. They must have something. That's all I can figure out. Richard Allen being in prison, so on. Here's the bottom line, folks. Either Richard Allen was involved and somebody created this horrible thing. It might have been one man, Richard Allen. Was there enough time to do it himself? Yes. If the girls were scared enough? Yes. There was plenty of time for Richard Allen to do this by himself. My question is I'm not hearing Richard Allen's voice on the recording. So something is not adding up in this case. The phone pings late at night from supposedly the girl's phone after the search was over with. You have to take all this stuff into consideration. There's no way Richard Allen did this alone. I just can't get on board with lone wolf. I can't either. And there's no way because the police have already come out and said there was numerous voices on the recording. Numerous is more than one. Numerous could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in the background. But the police did come out and say in many press releases that there was numerous voices on the recording other than Abby and Libby's. So we know there has to be more than one person. Maybe one person did the murders, but there was definitely more than one person there. Being murderers, killers, kidnappers, traffickers, whatever they were. So I've noticed some of these YouTubers did try and sway people. Well, it's one guy. He did this whole thing. That's him on the recordings. That's him on the bridge. But I'm going to be honest with you. We've been listening to that recording for 7 years now. And I'm not hearing Richard Allen. I'm hearing Chadwell or one other YouTuber. And as far as these people saying it's Ron Logan's voice on there, I don't know. We've got footage of Ron Logan talking, and Ron Logan talks with a slang. It's Southern Indiana. It's a Southern slang. And it's almost like a good old boy country boy. And you would be able to tell that on a recording of him, the way he talks and phrases things with his voice. He's got a Southern draw, Southern Indiana draw. And I'm not hearing that on the recording, but that don't mean it ain't him. But here's another thing I have to point out to the people. If Richard Allen or Ron Logan, if Ron Logan had anything to do with this and was involved in the murders in any way, surely the police would have came out and said Ron Logan was involved in the case, was a killer, and was part of it. Surely the police, there was their scapegoat, folks. Was if they had stone cold proof, and it is true, they're saying Ron Logan was on the girl's phone video. Yes, that's what they're saying. But that was at Walmart. Supposedly earlier that day or during the week earlier, the two girls ran into Ron Logan at Walmart and got mad at the girls for some reason from what this new video out is saying. So he was on video or whatever, or I had an altercation with the girls, but that was before Delphi. I don't see him being bridge guy, not unless somebody altered the video, actually superimposed or whatever, overlaid someone else onto that photo and covered up Ron Logan's face and body. But I'm not seeing him there on that bridge. And to tell you the truth, nobody knows what happened that day except for the people that were involved, God Almighty himself, the devil, and the investigators and search team, how they found them. And that's about it. Could I say 100% what happened there? No, I couldn't tell you 50% because we weren't there. We're YouTubers. I agree, Miss ATS News. I agree 100%. Was Ron Logan that stupid to commit these murders and lead them right to his front door? You know, they had dogs out there. Don't you think if Ron Logan was there, they would have sniffed his trail right to his front door? Don't you think they would have came out with evidence? Who was Ron Logan for them to cover it up? There was their scapegoat. If it was him, ladies and gentlemen, the case is over with. It was Ron Logan. And of course, he wouldn't be able to do anything because he's deceased. I mean, really, think about it. Think about it. Like I said, if the killers had that phone, then it's possible even Bridge Guy is not real Bridge Guy. It's possible the people on the recording are not the real people that did it. I mean, really, if you look at it, if you really look at it, if whoever had the phone, they had all night to manipulate the phone or do whatever with the phone. Um, we don't know. Were the phones there that night? Someone found them, tried to turn them on, do something or whatever. Did somebody already have their phones and created this whole mess? What about all the resets on the girls' phones and one of the family members' phones? And didn't they say a couple of people, Keegan Klein erased his phone and a couple other people did? So it wasn't making sense. Debbie says, yeah, I would imagine so, Deb. They could have been waiting, lurking underneath the bridge or already there by the cemetery, right? I'll tell you this much, folks. It don't make sense that there was that many people out there that night. And I could have swore they even showed people parked in the uh, cemetery that night, and they were looking for the girls. There was all kinds of people out there. Nobody found the girls. If they were parked in the cemetery and walked back there, is it possible it was dark? They missed them? Possible. There was dogs out there, but they weren't professional dogs, right? Did somebody find the bodies before the police and didn't let the police know until the next morning? Who knows? We'll never know the truth, really. I can tell you this much. It's too far gone. You got to get it out of the state. It's too corrupt. And you can't let the own police departments investigate themselves if people are saying the police are corrupt. I don't really think the police would be that corrupt. Are these people that I don't think the police would be that corrupt, really. To to take out two young girls, I just I don't see it. Not unless something crazy was going on involving a police officer with the young girls, but I don't see it. I just don't see the massive cover up with the police department. Maybe cover up their mistakes, but to cover up the case, for people to say it was them. I think Ellie just messed up. I think they were led on a wild goose chase, and they finally figured it out. And that's when Doug Carter got on the news thing, the press release, and was talking to them, talking to these people, telling them, "You didn't think we'd change our tactics. We might have already interviewed you and talked to you." And I think they were led on a wild goose chase in the beginning, but then figured out that they were being led on a goose chase, and side dogged back to the original investigation, probably. That I don't know. The whole sketch thing, combine the two sketches and you have Richard Allen. Well, that's possible in other cases I've seen that where two sketch people make up two different sketches, but when you combine them, they kind of look like the killer. Well, that's true, but they got 6 different sketches out right now, and they all look different. Are they saying put all these sketches together and it's very, I can't do that, because then we what are they saying? Well, then they must be saying that the killer was a schizophrenic and he had many people inside of him, his mind. I can't, how can you put out 6 sketches of the killer and they all look different and say, now combined all these and that's your killer. That's your killer's face, right? I don't know if you could do that. Could, I mean, they might be able to, but I don't see it. Don't work that way. There's renditions of sketches, but how are they supposed to put all this together, 6 faces, and make one face? I don't know. It is odd. It's pretty odd. I can tell you this much. That second voice that we're hearing on that recording is not Richard Allen. To me, it sounds like Brian James Chadwell. And listen, I do a lot of I used to do recording music and singing and listening to people's voices. I do have a professional program, Pro Tools, and I do know how to use it, and some of the filters and stuff like that, right? Stuff you use to clear up a voice, make it clear. You take the sustain out of it, the gain, and you use an EQ to balance out the voice. And really, you can't touch you can't use an EQ when you're listening to the voice. I'm not trying to clean it up. You can't. An EQ will change the pitch or the tone of the voice. So the only thing you really got is somehow to, within Pro Tools would be the video section, and there you would be able to take out the stuff in the video, but with audio you wouldn't have, you can't touch the the EQ. You don't want to change the tone of his voice. You just want to clean up all the pops and static and the wind, right? You can use plugins to do that on Pro Tools. Uh, but you can't touch the EQ with the voice, because that recording that's on the phone is a pure recording. It might have been compressed somewhere down the road with whatever they were using. YouTube even compresses uh, their volume, but it's a real recording with no effects or filters or anything on it. So it's a clear recording of his voice, of these people's voices. So if you're going to try and clean it up, my advice is do not use an EQ. You don't want to change the tone of his voice or the pitch. You only want to clean up so you can hear his voice better. Then there's other devices to use within Pro Tools to clean up that voice and take out the static and the hissing and wind blowing, whatever. I'm just telling you what I've learned over the past 13 years, 15 years, playing with Pro Tools and listening to people's voices. And some people train their ears. People in music, we train our ears. Some of us play by ear. Some of us train our ears to hear a certain note or key or someone's voice. True musicians can hear somebody's voice and say, that's Mickey Thomas from Jefferson Starship. That's Elvis Presley. That's Robert Plant, right? No matter what song they sing. I'm just trying to help out. I don't have the professional stuff that probably the government has, but it's just like recording in a studio. And some of these engineers that are in studios that record music are so good. They're so talented at what they can do. They can hear a voice and say, that's that guy. They can name everything. He did that song in the key of G. And these guys are so good, they can just hear a small clip and, ooh, that's Freddie Mercury, or that's someone we wouldn't know, but they would hear it and say, well, that's that guy singing from, they're trained. After so many years of listening to music, you train your ears. It's just a proven fact. It's a talent. It's a gift that God gave us, a tool to survive, to hear, right? That's a gift from God. It's almost like some people, I've seen carpenters that don't even use a level. When I used to be a carpenter and was being trained, you'd work your way up. You start as a laborer and then you become a carpenter. And that's what I did for years, you know. And some of these guys did it so long they can just look at a at a windowsill and say that windowsill is about an eighth of an inch off, a quarter inch off. Then we'd be standing back on that. It looks pretty good to us. Put a level on it, and it was off. It was a gift from God, a tool. Your eye is a tool. Your ears are a tool. Your voice. If you look at it that way. Does any of that make sense? to you folks in chat. I know it sounds crazy sometimes, but I don't believe I'm hearing Richard Allen or Ron Logan on that recording. But here's the thing: there was numerous voices, and I haven't heard that whole tape. So there's a good chance that there's other people on that recording. It might have been Ron Logan. We just haven't heard it, and other people have more information than we do. Some of these people might be ex-police. That would explain why they have more information than us. Does that make sense too? Right? I don't know. Now, in the beginning of this case, when we were screaming out that Richard Allen was possible a suspect in this case, people were saying we were crazy and that he was in prison at the time of these murders, that it was impossible. Well, guess what? That was a lie. Chadwell was not in prison at the time of these murders. He was a free man, and he was in that area at the time of these murders. Go figure. Phew. Yeah. And he was a suspect. As soon as they picked him up with that young girl in his basement, he became a suspect definitely after that. But people still said, nah, he was in jail. Yeah, he was in jail for kidnapping that girl. But that was after the Delphi case. That story broke when they caught him. Now, whether that story was from that day and was real, I don't know. That's the problem with social media. And that's the problem with technology. It could have been a video from a year before the girls were killed. We don't know. All right, well, that's my take on it tonight. I'm kind of tired. I want to see what any of the ladies think. What do you ladies think? I just find it hard to believe that people cannot put the dots together. When you got all these people on camera talking about a club or a gang or some kind of, what it was probably a giant trafficking pedo club, drug-filled sex sicko thing. And all these people getting picked up down there, I imagine, were questioned. Even Kurtz, who was picked up not for Delphi, but he was picked up for killing somebody else. I imagine they all were questioned. Right now everyone's asking where was Greeno on that day. Greeno claimed he was never around there, but now all of a sudden the evidence is coming out that Greeno was in that area that day. I mean, this is madness, folks. And they attacked us. We were the ones that were in his chat telling him to turn himself in. And this goes back to the corruption, because then you had Mr. Anthony Greeno on tape claiming that he's got family within the police department and the crime lab. So it all makes sense to me. There's a lot of people shocked that Anthony Greeno is even out on the streets. A lot of people are. For all we know, it is that corrupt. Right now, a lot of people are questioning. Even his own sister is questioning. Where was he that day? Why was he out there? And what happened to him? What was wrong with his legs? Why couldn't he walk for a week after Delphi, supposedly, what his sister was saying? We've caught Greeno and a lot of these people in numerous lies. And now, Miss ATS News, you're saying that in my chat here, you said that Ruckus said he had the photos, but he told Frank he didn't have the photos. But then he told Frank, "Well, I don't care," right? That he had the photos. Somebody's lying somewhere. I don't know. All right, ladies, that concludes my night. Thank everyone that showed up. Uh, and I would not be shocked if we see some of these YouTubers being charged with crimes, bullying, and other crimes. That would make sense why they don't want to hear from any YouTubers in court. Probably because um, there might be a good chance that some of these people get charged. Now, if they were to testify, they might have been looked at as witness or testifying, but they don't want to hear any of the YouTuber stuff right now. And that's probably because they went through that and figured out that it was just a bunch of crap. I don't know. It's interesting. But if nobody's got any questions, I think I'm going to end this video. Hope I didn't bore anybody too long. And we'll go for an hour. How about just some silence? We'll end the video in 10 minutes. I got to put a cigarette patch on before bed. Little Debbie says it does make sense. Well, thank you, Debbie. I think it backfired in their faces. I think they did do shabby work on some of their stuff. I think they were getting pressured and they were looking for anybody to pin it on. That's what I think. Possibly they were trying to pin it on somebody or set somebody up. There's a lot of clips that are missing from the recording, supposedly, from what Rick Snay was saying. A lot of clips, a lot of places that looks like it was edited or pieces missing. What were them pieces? Who were they? There's a lot to look at this case. Does it keep you from wanting a cigarette during your sleep? I don't know. I usually don't get up and smoke at night, Debbie. When I go to bed, I go to bed. Not unless I can't sleep, then I'll get up and have a cigarette. But uh, no, it don't keep me from sleeping. Not at all. When I'm tired, I'm tired. I don't wake up like every couple hours, uh, which I have known people that were chain smokers and did that. Slept for a couple hours, got up, had a cigarette, went back to bed, got back up. That's when you know it's real bad. Uh, I don't do that. When I hit the bed, I hit the bed. Do any of you ladies have any suggestions? Is Miss ATS News still here or is she lurking? I'm just trying to figure out who's lurking. Hell, some of us might need federal protection from Delphi, from the police force. If it's that corrupt, it makes sense why I got the madness in this little town now all of a sudden, which it don't bother me at all. Right, bring in the Mother Green and the ass kicking machine to protect the citizens of Indiana, possibly. I would, but I don't run the country. If I ran things, it'd be different. People probably would be saying you can't do that, just like they're saying now. But the presidents, the ex-presidents, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out who's behind the camera. If it's Miss ATS News or somebody following one of you ladies or um, somebody trying to uh, pin something on somebody. We don't know, right? You never know who you're dealing with on the other side of a screen. You don't know who's on the other end of a cell phone or whatever it may be. You think you're talking to somebody, yeah, but you're not. Believe it or not, these people are so hot for the story. They'll call up as telemarketers. They'll call up acting like somebody else. I mean, they do it to sell insurance and all kinds of stuff. And they do this to get the story. You think you're talking to a cop giving giving you your statement to a cop over the phone, and it's not even a cop, it's a dang paparazzi guy wanting some info or something so that they can put me on TMZ again. Johnny Kramer has been spotted. He's not dead. He's alive. One of the great Americans, comedy movies. And he's still alive. They just want to put me on TMZ for another run. All right, we are coming up on 1 hour, which I'm going to end this video at 1 hour. Folks, if I have any information to give you, any kind of advice, I would say take into consideration all these things in the Delphi case. From day one of the Delphi case. And I disagree with all these people that the leak was out from day one. No, it wasn't. It wasn't on social media from day one. I would say not until like 2 years, because all these guys were talking about other people. There was no even mentions of sticks or carvings or even a crime scene the first couple years in the Delphi case. It was only after certain YouTubers got involved that this whole leak supposedly that they claim only came out last year. Well, that's a lie. It was before a year, but it wasn't at the beginning of this case. The only thing that was released from the police was the recording and the video of Bridge Guy. That's the only thing the police released. And that was years into the case. That wasn't right away. That was like a year or two or so into the case that they released certain stuff. So, are we saying it's demonic? It might be. I don't know. Just take in consideration to all this stuff. It might be a little bit of all of it, folks. And it might just be a little bit of all of it, the perfect storm. So keep that in consideration. Always keep an open mind in an ongoing case, or even a cold case. Keep an ongoing open mind, and anything is possible in a murder case. Now, you folks have a great night. Our hour is up. Do I have any beef with any of these YouTubers? No. It's just some of the stuff I agree with them, some of the stuff I don't. Am I going to attack anybody over it? Or no, not at all. Good God, it's like grammar school kids. All right, you folks have a great night. God bless y'all, and sleep good. Lock your doors. And we'll talk later. I want to thank the great Debbie Fox and Miss ATS News for stopping in, and whoever else seen. Be safe, and I'm going to relax before I go to bed and have some tea. Good night, folks.